Hey everybody, welcome back to Experience Points, a less formal, more laid-back sort of video series where I talk about games that I've played a bit of but have not yet finished. I'm about 5 hours into The Girl from Arkanya, a top-down Zelda-like action-adventure with its own kind of Amazonian flair. And let me tell you, just to start with guys, hide your beer and your cheese. Because she's gonna take it all. In this game you actually play as Marissa, not Link, but Marissa, a German kind of girl, self-proclaimed world's best treasure hunter, and her magical capybara companion, Kapi. These are my first impressions of the game from an early access build that the developer gave me access to pretty close to release, so some aspects of the game may be different by the time you actually get hands-on with it. It's, though, on its surface, it's a 2D Zelda-like title, and they do take it a step further by bringing to the game a whole new personality. Marissa, who is spirited, kind of flirty and fun, not just like another silent hero like Link, though. She's got a whole lot of personality that she brings to the table, and, well, I would say some flavor as well. Those flavors mostly being beer and cheese that are mainly used for healing throughout the game rather than potions and heart pieces. I kind of prefer the image of someone drinking and eating beer and cheese rather than, you know, consuming the hearts of the fallen enemies that you kill throughout the countryside. You will also be accompanied by Kapi, the magical capybara companion, and there's a little bit of banter that is able to play out between Marissa and Kapi as events take place throughout the game. So it's kind of like, you know, having Navi at your side, only if Navi were, you know, not entirely awful, you know, but there is some of that extra snark to it, you know, not quite like, you know, Marvel movie levels of snark, but there's definitely some butting of heads. She's very optimistic and single-minded, and Kapi is the thoughtful foil. Kapi is the straight man to her crazy go wild kind of personality, and that does add some charm. There is also a co-op option in this game. There's a drop-in and drop-out multiplayer. I wasn't really able to test this myself, but it's worth noting because that's pretty unique to these 2D Zelda-likes. As far as I know, I only know of like the Four Swords Adventure that allows you to actually co-op through a Zelda-like game, but there's more to it than just if you're co-oping them. Even though I couldn't play as both of them at the same time, there are reasons you might want to switch back and forth between them and even teleport between one another for puzzle solving. It's a whole other mechanic. You know, you can have them sit in place and stand on this, you know, trigger for this switch over here, and then you go over here, do the thing, and then have Kapi teleport to you, or you teleport back to Kapi in order to go quickly do this other thing before a timer runs out. The game featured a bit of this in the, I think it was maybe the first dungeon in the Aztec ruins. It's really, really neat though that the puzzles can like kind of leverage that two people at once kind of deal. It's like having a companion, but also, what was it, Fiora's Wind from Ocarina of Time? That whole kind of like being able to jump back to a certain point within the same room, though. It doesn't transcend between different rooms. That's one thing that you won't have to contend with or worry about. I'm only about 5 hours in, but it does seem that as soon as you leave a room, for the most part, Kapi is going to leave with you. There are also really cool special abilities that are unique to Kapi or to Marissa. Marissa gets a lot of different things. She's the she's the Link of this game. So she's got a huge repertoire of different abilities and weapons and items that you can use. There's a hook shot, and it's a really good hook shot. I'm very pleased with the fact that it's just like a almost instantaneous, just and you're done, and not like a kind of, you know. It was nice to see. I don't know, just that little tweak on an old mechanic that was kind of nice. But anyways, yeah, you'll be teleporting, swapping around, and the other reason you might want to swap around is that like Kapi has projectile abilities that can be pretty useful because some of these enemies, let's just say like they have wide attacks and they can attack you from afar, and Marissa is mainly more of a melee character, at least until you get that hook shot. Now, because Marissa is like a huge treasure hunter, the self-proclaimed world's greatest treasure hunter, she also has a kind of a bit of a collect-a-thon aspect to her. One of the really cool things about these collectibles scattered throughout the world is that her grandfather's putting together like this museum, and he's paying you for every artifact that you bring to him. The payouts are actually big payouts that are worthwhile, 1 to 200 so far per artifact. But the really cool thing is that the museum continues to, as it grows, draws in more people who provide more donations, and that turns into a recurring revenue stream for Marissa. Which is also pretty cool. Got a ton of cash in this game, but I'm spending through it all really quickly as well, because in order to upgrade certain things like your satchels or pouches for, you know, how much beer and cheese you can bring along with you, for instance, those also cost quite a bit of money. And the materials that you'll want to collect and use to upgrade your sword, which is another really cool thing you can do in this game, those are also pretty expensive. You can, however, go and collect them on your own by defeating enemies, finding treasure chests that do auto respawn actually, which is pretty cool, and collect a whole bunch of things and can either use them or sell them off. Now, one of the things that I do have a small criticism with that is that you have this pouch of limited size. You can carry X number of stacks of items. The nice quality of life features is the ability to sell all of those items. And this has happened to me a few times where I had some ongoing kind of side quest where I'm trying to collect 10 of this thing in order to upgrade my weapon. There's no guardrails to keep you from accidentally selling off all of the things that you've been gathering for those objectives that you're working towards, which is a little bit of a bummer because I worked really hard to collect a bunch of steel, and I had like 5 of them. And I needed 5 more. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go buy the rest. So I go to the treasure guy and I'll just sell off everything that I have, and then I'll go and buy the remainder of the steel. Not realizing, I guess, that the steel would be included in the sell all button, and it's just boom, nothing. And there's no guardrail. It would be nice to have a little like quest exclamation point marker show up like next to an item there, or maybe if extra credit in future development, the sell all button just does not sell those items that have that exclamation mark unless you manually tell it to. That would be really nice. Just a little tweak to that behavior, probably just a few hundred lines of new code. But anyways, that would be my one thing. It's actually a really fun game. The overall vibe has just been a very fun romp that nails, I think, some of that classic 2D nostalgia while adding its own kind of special sauce to it all. And most of that sauce comes from the personality of Marissa. She has very strong personality. Some of that personality is fueled by beer and cheese, and I think that's pretty funny. They're kind of poking fun throughout the game at the aspect of being a treasure hunter, which is just kind of thievery by another name a lot of times. I think the character's name was, in fact, Derek, who you go up into his house and he's like, oh, how's the treasure hunting going? Just don't hunt for any treasures in my house. And then just walk right over, open the chest, take all of his belongings, and walk out the door. So, it's funny stuff like that has really caught my interest. The NPCs are a little bit of fun. And, you can also go and collect books throughout the game to provide to the library. And that's also just another one of those kind of collectathon features of the game. The hook of the game, though, is that Marissa just got her sword from her father, and she's gone off to see a friend. And her friend is this gal who dances in the forest, and she might be a sage of some sort. Then there's this guy comes around, takes her friend from her, and you gotta go rescue her. And it's kind of all about, rescuing your best friend. It's not a damsel in distress, it's your friend that you gotta go reclaim from this guy who's trying to resurrect a long-dead evil god or something like that. Before your friend was captured, she taught you a little dance that's somehow connected to opening up all of these different secret dungeons and opening up these teleportation points between areas. As you go throughout the game, you'll also collect other kinds of dances that you can do, some of which might give you your special attack a fire elemental ability, for instance, or others might give you a protective shield, like a ward of sorts. Later on in the game, I actually ended up getting this little, it's basically, think of it as like a dodge roll ability. Oh, I haven't even talked about the special abilities. So the special abilities is also one of the cool things about this. While the combat is pretty straightforward and basic, it does have an animation for swinging at both directions, which is pretty cool because that means you can just whip it around as you're like walking. So it doesn't feel quite as stilted and stunted. It feels pretty fluid and fast, despite the relative lack of like the ability to run or jump so far. But maybe those things will be added later on for me as I collect additional items and such. But the ability to use other items like the hook shot or like this scarf that gives you the ability to do dodge rolls and stuff, I think could really enhance the overall repertoire of abilities and attacks and things throughout the game. So I'm pretty excited to see where we're going with all of this. Magical lantern, for instance, the hook shot, dodge roll, they take some amount of ability points, but those ability points do restore on their own, and that's pretty unique about this game. You can kind of rely on them pretty often. In fact, throughout the very first part of the game, I relied pretty heavily on the special heavy attack, I guess, is the default one. Being able to just kind of use that to kill one enemy in a single hit instead of like 3 hits was really helpful. Because when you start off the game, you don't have very many heart containers, and they are hearts. Gradually, you'll notice that there are these 3 little like combo point things that fill up as you hit enemies. When you have all 3, that allows you to do a special attack for free. So you can just kind of hit them and bank those until you need them. But I wouldn't really worry about it because they restore so often. That might come into play a little later on. One of the other cool things about the cheese that you collect is that they heal 1 heart piece no matter what, and you can bank like 8 of them. And then with the beer though, they restore 4 containers. You can bank a bunch of those and you can upgrade your satchels to hold even more and even more. So it's kind of like having a small potion and a big potion with you at all times, or sets of them. And you can collect, new cheese throughout the game as you go. I haven't seen any beer being able to be collected throughout the game as you go. That seems to be like a in-town only sort of item that you have to pay for. I hardly ever had to touch the beer, personally speaking. I did die once, but once I figured out the abilities of the boss that killed me, it was a bit smoother sailing. So I wouldn't expect this to really push a pro of Zelda games too hard, at least not at first. One of the things that I do like though is that the boss fights, the giant bosses, they're kind of like these mecha that were set up to protect these various Aztec Mayan ruins and temples. But these mecha bosses, and what's really funny about them though, in my opinion, is that they also are voiced. There's voice acting in this game, by the way. It's minimal, it's here and there, enough to give it personality, like Marissa might say something when you switch between characters, for instance, but the boss fights are really funny because they kind of give me a little bit of a GLaDOS vibe from, Portal. And it's just like those little humorous add-ins just kind of remind you that you're not really playing a Zelda game. The game's gonna be coming out on the 21st, so I think by the day I release this, you can play it. It's gonna be on Windows and Linux. It's gonna be Steam Deck friendly, they say. It's aiming for a price tag of about $20 with a launch discount, and I wanted to try to add something new here where I'm gonna try to answer some questions that I foresee from you, the viewer. So for instance, isn't this just another Zelda clone? Yes, basically, but with a heroine and a capybara, the whole teleportation thing, the whole banter, the whole dynamic, the humor, the banter, the cheese and beer. I think it's just a special sauce added over top of classic 2D Zelda. And sometimes I think that's okay. I really enjoyed my time with Blossom's Tale, for instance. Or was it Blossom Tales? Blossom's Tale, and that was good. This is good as well, but it's also very unique in its own right. Is the $20 price point worth it? Well, if you keep your expectations in check and hype responsibly, of course, I think it feels like a pretty fair way to go. And I'm about 5 hours into this game, and I'm about, based on the map and exploration, I feel like about maybe a third to a quarter of the way through the game, maybe. If that's any sort of judge, it's hard to go by, but it feels like maybe if you're, a collector, you do the collectathon stuff. If you're an explorer, you could probably see, I'm guessing, 20 to 25 hours out of this game. Although if you're not that kind of person, the developer says that you can probably expect closer to 8 to 12 hours for the main quest. But again, I'm 5 hours in and I've got a lot left to go. So it's gonna really kind of vary a lot based off of your playstyle. Also, how polished does it feel? And I think that it feels pretty polished. I think that there is some room for further polish in the sound department, particularly certain songs maybe felt a little bit slow or looped a little too often, certain areas of the game I think would have really been enhanced by some ambient kind of sounds, maybe the sound of rustling wind or the sound of beaches, or like as you're swimming, like little splashy sounds or something to that effect. I feel like in the sound department, things could be a little further fleshed out, but it's also entirely possible that these are things that they're already planning to address. So again, I'm playing a development build, but based off of my experience playing a late development build before release, things are feeling pretty good. I haven't played a new Zelda-like though in a really long time, and this really did scratch that itch for me. It's fun, it's personality-driven adventure with enough unique flair that I think helps it stand out. If you are a Zelda fan, the girl from Arcana feels like a very classic kind of gameplay that you know and love, but again with beer and cheese, and that makes everything better, right? If you're into Zelda-likes, go give it a shot. Anyways, I'm SuperDerek, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everyone.